don't know about you, but all across my social media, I'm seeing autumn's arrival, fall resets, autumn aesthetic, cozy vlogs, romanticizing autumn. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's not that these videos aren't so beautiful. It's that often when we click on them, we realize that autumn has become commercialized. Autumn has now become like a product that we can buy. It's a season. What has happened? It's like you can go into the shops and pick up little pumpkins. And I'm not saying that it's not cute to have these lovely little cups and like decorating your house. I'm not saying that it's not nice. But it's mental that nowadays autumn has become another part of our commercialized world. Now, don't get me wrong, I love autumn just as much as everybody else. When the leaves start to change color and they fall from the trees in the wind, it's so nice. But I don't know, I feel like TikTok and Instagram have kind of hijacked autumn and turned it into something that it's not. I love being able to go out and have nice walks, but at the same time, like September and October, that's when the weather starts to change. It drops. I'm a summer girl through and through, so I'm not a fan of that. We start to have like runny noses, and if you have children, they start getting sick. Yeah, you have to get like, wrapped up. And it's nice to put on candles and like listen to nice music. I'm not saying it's not nice, but what in the world has happened that now autumn has become another commercial product that we can buy? Well, let's break it down a little bit. Because right now, the system that we're living under, should I say, is called neoliberalism. And neoliberalism is a little bit bizarre to understand, because it's like, while it is this kind of political and economic ideology that promotes what they call free trade, there's nothing free about it, but anyway, privatization, minimal government intervention in businesses, and very like minimal public expenditure on social services, it's also more than that. So Brown defines neoliberalism as a governing rationality through which everything is economized, and in a very specific way. Human beings become market actors, and nothing but every field of activity is seen as a market, and every entity, whether public or private, whether person, business, or state, is governed as a firm. So in this sense then, neoliberalism submits everything to market metrics and governs with market techniques and practices, which is mental. Even autumn, which is a season, has become marketed. It's just been turned into another excuse for companies to sell us shit. And how do they do it? Well, I mean, often they do it through social media. They do it through Instagram. They do it through YouTube, through TikTok. In this way, the neoliberalism has just transformed another part of our everyday life, which is a season, and submitted that to these kinds of market ideologies and these kinds of profit-driven interests. And that's why understanding neoliberalism is so important, because it can't just be conceived of as this set of like free market economic policies that only affect like public spending, for example, or like cuts on funding for hospitals and things. It's far more than that. Even though it does include those effects, it's a political rationality. I mean, it's not just political, like it's a very existential rationality. Like it is a reason to be, which is making as much money as possible from literally every single part of all of our lives. And this is why it's so mental as well, because like we don't even realize that it's happening. Like this is the real success of neoliberalism, right? The real success of capitalism has been to persuade us of its inevitability. Like we believe that, as they said, right? There is no other way. So everybody has become a capitalist now. We're all neoliberal. Through the creation of an all-embracing market mentality, the seductive power of the commodity, and the enclosure of fulfillment and desire within purchase and consumption, capitalism shows itself so indefinitely adaptable that even resistance and contestation is commodified and sold, right? So that's what's happening here, right? The YouTube is another one of these social media platforms, and the algorithms on the social media platforms are specifically designed to keep us online for as long as possible, because the more that we are online and the more that we click on videos, the more that we watch videos, the more profit YouTube and other social media corporations make, right? So even when there are examples of people like me, and there is a lot of this like across social media, people trying to resist neoliberalism, trying to resist this like hyperconsumption mentality, we are also, part of this same mechanism of commodification. And that's why it's so difficult to resist, right? Like, that's one of the questions in this book that I was reading, is like, how do we even, like, how does radical change come about? How do we actually put things in motion to challenge this kind of ideology and this kind of approach to consumption and to the hyperconsumption of everyday activities, which is what happens when we go, particularly like on social media, and we see how the most mundane and everyday of our behavior has become exactly commodified and has become marketable. And now you can go into shops and pick up all kinds of different things. Like, I went to Action the other day and literally they were selling like pine cones. They were selling pine cones. And I was like, you can take a walk in the park and you can pick them up for free. Imagine that, like going out and buying like acorns and pine cones is mental. You can literally pick it up for free. How has this become commercialized? How has this become that we have to look up and buy this stuff online and then we can decorate our houses to fit into this autumn aesthetic? And not that the autumn aesthetic is not beautiful, just I would like to participate in this critical dialogue against this hyperconsumption and this hyperconsumption attitude. Because ultimately what we have to remember is that even though social media wants us to click as much as possible, it never, ever, ever wants us to be happy. It never, ever, ever wants us to be satisfied. Because if we are happy and if we are satisfied, babe, we're not clicking, we're not buying anything anymore. The only reason that we continue to buy so much stuff, obviously it's a bit more complicated than that, because we're constantly seeing people buying things all of the time, which also conditions us to just like endlessly want to buy and endlessly want to have more. But it's also because we are never satisfied with what we have. Like, the moment that we have something, we're not satisfied with it. And so no matter how wonderful summer was, no matter how beautiful it was, no matter how much we enjoyed it, it was also in a way commercialized. And now that the seasons have changed and we've got into autumn, autumn is also being commercialized in a way that is mental, like going out and picking your pumpkins. Like, it's so cute and it's so nice, but isn't it also a little bit mental that there's like a social media like frenzy has come out really recently? I feel like in the last few years it has really like blossomed. And it's just also important to be a little bit critical about what on earth is going on and what is our role within that. So yeah, autumn, is it really a product or is it just a season? And should we enjoy it but not necessarily like have to buy things in order to fulfill this kind of endless social media train that is never going to stop? There's always going to be, other trends that we like have to buy into, and we'll always never ever feel good enough in comparison to other people, which is of course another key feature of social media. So yeah, thank you very much for watching if you did watch this video, and I hope that maybe it's pricked your curiosity in a little way, in one way or another. So yeah, thank you very much, and I hope that you have a really lovely day.